All right, guys, day 4 of Green Bay Packers training camp is now in the books. It was a shorter practice today. It was the last non-padded practice until the pads come on tomorrow, mandated by the CBA. So the Packers had to wait until tomorrow to throw the pads on, where we'll really start to see practice ramp up at that point. But this was the last non-padded practice, so it was definitely a shorter one, a lighter type of practice, but nonetheless, I have all the key takeaways and notes and everything that happened in today's practice. I would really suggest going down and clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers. A lot of people don't even realize that they're not subscribed, but it supports the channel a ton. It's absolutely free to do, so I'd appreciate it if you did go click subscribe. All right, so let's waste no time and let's dive right down into it. So first, we'll start with a couple notes from Matt LaFleur's press conference this morning, and he said, quote, "It's gonna be a while until Zach Tom gets into team reps." He doesn't expect him to take team reps until after family night, more than a full week away. So Zach Tom has been present at practice, going through warm-ups, going through walkthroughs, but he is yet to practice during 11v11s or team sessions, and that won't change when the pads come on tomorrow. Obviously recovering from that pectoral surgery, that's a big thing. So monitoring Zach Tom going forward. They're not going to rush him back into it. And through walkthroughs, through warm-ups, he's been right tackle. There's been no variance there where we all thought, earlier the offseason, could he maybe play center? There's been absolutely no variance there. The only variance at center has been Elgton Jenkins playing some center, which he also had to today due to the absence of Josh Myers, which he's out of practice today, but it's not because of yesterday's injury. We saw him kind of leave practice at the end of practice yesterday due to an injury. He's not absent because of that today. He's absent due to a personal matter, and Matt LaFleur said he'll be fine in regards to the injury. Some other attendance notes we have from today's practice. A new player out of practice was cornerback Robert Rochelle, listed with a calf injury. We also had 3 players return to practice today off the PUP. Cornerback Corey Ballantyne, offensive guard Donovan Jennings, and offensive tackle Caleb Jones. Now, none of them did any teamwork. They were all limited in today's practice, so we'll see their availability tomorrow and then Sunday, of course. So Robert Rochelle out, Corey Ballantyne in, and Ballantyne, working with the nickel cornerbacks today, which is a little bit interesting. Players that are still out: Katana Ladapo out, NFI with that toe injury, Marshawn Lloyd still out with his hip injury, Tucker Kraft still out with the pectoral, and obviously Jordan Love still not practicing due to not having an extension yet, which, again, that's going to happen like any day now. Now to quickly go through the starters on the offense through walkthroughs, and then, of course, during 11v11s. So through walkthroughs, the offensive line was Walker, Ryan, Jenkins, Morgan, Tom. Again, this is just walkthroughs. That's the only thing Tom participated in. It changed up in 11v11s, which we'll get into. But obviously here, the big note is without Myers, Elgton Jenkins clearly center number 2, and then they slide Ryan over the left guard, and Morgan comes in at right guard. Telfort also rotated in at right tackle again and was right tackle number 1 during 11v11s, which also had Sean Clifford at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, Watson, Reed, and Dobbs at wide receiver, Musgrave at tight end, and then the offensive line during team sessions was Walker, Ryan, Jenkins, Morgan, Telfort. So only switched there, Telfort in for Zach Tom, because he is participating in 11v11s where Zach Tom isn't, and Telfort was right tackle number 1 yesterday during teams. After making that switch, it used to be Andre Dillard. Matt LaFleur mentioned he's going to be rotating these guys around a lot. But spoiler, Rashawn Gary beat Telfort on a few reps in today's practice as well. I mean, this guy, I think he can quite literally beat anyone. As for some defensive starter notes, during walkthroughs at linebacker, it was Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie, but that switched up during team sessions. It was then Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. They opened up in nickel, so those were the 2 linebackers. Those are the 2 linebackers I expect it to be when the season comes around and they bring out a nickel form, say in 2nd and long or 3rd down. The defensive line was a little bit different. Still Smith and Gary on the outsides, but on the inside it was Devontae White and Kenny Clark. Most team portions we've seen the starters, Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton, kind of going for more of a run fit style front 4, but here more so a pass rush style with Devontae White in there. Cornerbacks the same: Jair, Stokes, Nixon. Stokes has been great all of training camp. And safeties a little little bit of a switch up. So the constant is Xavier McKinney. Obviously, he's still number one safety, but today was Anthony Johnson Jr. next to him. So didn't know they were going to go back to Anthony Johnson Jr. After OTAs and minicamp. He was the starter the whole time, and then they went to Bullard, and I thought, okay, maybe they're just going to switch between Bullard and Evan Williams at this point, but they truly are rotating everyone in. Outside of, say, Benny Sapp, Zane Anderson, Tyler Coyle, they're really rotating everyone in. And Anthony Johnson Jr. had an interception yesterday and started at safety today next to Xavier McKinney. Now to the offensive notes from today's practice. Bo Melton was a bit slow to get up after a play, but sprinted back to the huddle after that, so no injury worry there, at least as of right now. So it seems like an injury avoided. Sean Clifford also got ran into and came up hobbling, kind of looked like an ankle injury. If the Packers lose out on Sean Clifford, they are very, very thin on quarterback. Just another reason why this Jordan Love extension just has to happen already. Sean Clifford, another kind of rough day of practice. That's kind of been the running theme so far through training camp. Outside of day one, I thought he practiced pretty well, but since then, man, it's been rough. And he had another pretty rough practice. Not as bad as yesterday, but he still, the offense didn't move the ball too well. They did score at the end of red zone, which we'll get into, but it probably could have been stopped by the defense, and the offense just needed something at that point. It kind of looks like they allowed Josh Jacobs to run into the end zone. But in terms of Sean Clifford, he had a rollout play where he was trying to escape Enigbari for a probably would-be sack and ends up throwing it to the side. And Xavier McKinney made his first big splash play, intercepting the pass from Sean Clifford and taking it back for a touchdown. So nice to see Xavier McKinney making a splash play, but at the same time, it's like, Sean Clifford just continues to throw interceptions and struggle. In terms of a couple positives on offense, because, we take small victories at this point. Emmanuel Wilson had a really nice run down the right sideline with a really nice block set up by Tyler Davis. Emmanuel Wilson has looked good so far, really stepping up and utilizing the snaps he's given in the absence of Marshawn Lloyd. Then, like I said, to finish out offense, the Packers in the red zone actually scored. It was Josh Jacobs on a read option, but again, it looked like the defense probably could have stopped him, but he kind of just, got into the end zone. So maybe the defense allowed the offense to get one there because it has not been pretty for them recently. Now for the defensive notes, interestingly, Keyshawn Nixon had a couple snaps at outside cornerbacks with the number 2s, and then that put Kalen King into the slot. So maybe trying to see a little bit of Keyshawn Nixon's potential versatility. Colby Wooden and Brenton Cox had a nice combined tackle for loss on Emmanuel Wilson on a run play. Preston Smith beat Rasheed Walker pretty badly for a pressure and a possible sack. Tyron Hopper just continues to make run-stopping plays with another stop at the line of scrimmage today. It feels like he has one of these stops like every single practice. And then, of course, Rashawn Gary, just a complete animal and monster yet again today. He started the red zone period with 2 straight would-be sacks versus Kadeem Telford. I mean, it seems like Rashawn Gary is quite literally about to have his best season ever. I know the pads aren't on, but man, he looks great out there. He looks like an animal out there, and he's quite literally beating everybody. And I know Zach Tom, our best lineman, isn't out there, and the pads aren't on, but really excited to see this guy when the pads come on, and if he continues this streak, getting so many pressures and sacks in practice. The defense also did a good job during the red zone period. Valentine did a good job stopping Christian Watson just short of the goal line, and then also the play prior to that, Musgrave was stopped inches short of the goal line as well. Then to wrap things up, going over a couple special teams notes, we saw some more kick return reps today, and the kick return players were as follows. Obviously, Keyshawn Nixon, Josh Jacobs, which is an interesting little twist there with the new kickoff rules. Also, Jaden Reed and Samori Torre. We also saw some punt return reps, which was cool. Keyshawn Nixon, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, and Dimitri Stanley were the 4 players returning punts. And then kicking news, Anders Carlson continues to impress and continues to kick very, very well. Actually had his first miss today. He went 5 for 6 on the day, but overall he is 11 of 12 in camp. Same with Greg Joseph. He's been very impressive kicking as well. He went 6 for 6 today, and he is also 11 for 12 in camp so far. James Turner didn't kick today, but he hasn't been as efficient as these 2 guys. But Anders Carlson, man, I've been saying, believe in this guy, stick by his side, don't throw him to the side too quickly. It's the same thing with Mason Crosby after his rookie season. Too many people doubted him, and I'm not saying it's the same type of player or the same situation, but got to have a little bit of patience. And it seems so far that Anders Carlson, definitely taking a step up and getting better here in year 2. So those are all the key takeaways and notes I have from day 4. Again, a light practice, the last non-padded practice, so they're kind of just ramping things up a little bit day by day until the pads come on. Then we'll really start to see a lot of action, especially in 11v11, some actual hitting, some actual blocking, right? I'm really excited for that because that's when you really start to see the roster take shape and certain players rise and certain players fall. You'll find all that content here on this channel when that does happen tomorrow, Sunday, and then they're off Monday, but then back to practice after that. So you'll find it all here on this channel. Definitely go down, click subscribe, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It supports the channel a ton, but I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.